You don't see
I know
Terence
what you're trying
Crawford?
to get to. You're probably trying to say Terence Crawford.
Yes.
You know, that fight's going to happen. Hopefully he beats Jeff Horn and gets that belt. And like I said, I want to be undisputed welterweight champion of the world. So when he does...
So the first part of this video is funny because Errol Spence explains why he walked off during the Bud Crawford fight, right? And let me just let Errol Spence say it. Go on here, Errol.
Reaction of the fight and everything, Errol, in that moment.
I feel like it was a good fight. No, I really just walked out because I feel like it was just a premature stoppage and things like that, and a lot of other stuff I don't feel like getting into.
So my first problem with this shit, right? My first problem with this shit is, why would a premature stoppage, in your words, why would a premature stoppage make you mad enough to walk out of a fight?
His dad just stopped the fight, and I don't think he should have. And Sean put on a good showing. He's fighting pretty well, and I didn't think it was a premature stoppage. So
You mentioned at the presser about becoming a...
Yeah, obviously ain't saying everything that he's supposed to be saying right here, because again, that don't make no sense. Why would a premature stoppage, in your words, make you mad enough to leave a fight that you came to quote unquote promote, right? I mean, you came to the fight so you could call out a Bud Crawford, or so you can make your presence known at a Bud Crawford fight. You came for that purpose, right? So why would a premature stoppage make you mad enough for you to walk out of a fight? These are the things that I don't understand about Errol Spence Jr. You know what I mean? But let's keep it going though, because we all know that's some bullshit. But let's keep it going.
Undisputed at 47. Does that mean Crawford is on the hit list before you move up?
Yeah, I mean...
All right, here we go, y'all. So, dude just asked him, is Crawford on the hit list before he moves on? So, here's what Errol Spence got to say.
Definitely so. If, we can get that fight made, it'll get made. But, if not, then, it is what it is,
Why this nigga talking about the Terence Crawford fight, like almost like, you know how you talking about the Terence Crawford fight? He's almost talking about the Terence Crawford fight like, when you applying for a job or whatever, but you don't necessarily need a job. So you like, well, I'm gonna apply for this shit, but if I don't get it, I'm just keep it moving type shit. Like, there's no sense of urgency when it comes to a Terence Crawford fight, when it comes to Errol Spence Jr. Like, I don't get why Errol Spence fans don't understand why boxing fans feel the way they feel about Errol Spence. There's no urgency. There's no desperation when it comes to making the biggest fight that's supposedly in boxing right now. This is why niggas like me and other people are talking about other fights. This is why we're talking about Jermell Charlo, and we're talking about guys that Bud could fight instead of in lieu of Errol Spence, because we got no confidence, we got no faith that this nigga Errol Spence is gonna want to make a fight with Terence Bud Crawford should he get through your Dennis Ugas. Oh, you make the fight. If we do it, we do it. We don't. Like, don't nobody want to hear that shit. Don't nobody want to hear you go, nah, maybe, we'll see. If it was Blair Cobbs, I bet he would have been talking big shit, talking about, yeah, let's fight. I mean, we saw how he was reacting to Blair Cobbs when Cobb said that shit about Errol Spence. We saw how quick he was to jump in his Twitter and start talking shit about Blair Cobbs. We saw that. But when it comes to Terence Crawford, when it comes to this man calling out, looking for the big fish in the ocean, we don't hear shit. We don't hear shit come out of Errol Spence's mouth. We don't hear shit from him for weeks. And we get all these cryptic little texts and all these things alluding to the idea that he may or may not be talking about Terence Bud Crawford. We don't know. He didn't say his name. I mean, to this day, this nigga Errol Spence ain't say his name. The dude had to ask him a direct question about Terence Crawford in order for him to address it. And even as he's addressing it, he's nonchalant and, oh, maybe we'll see. We don't know. But let's keep it going, though.
I'm not gonna dwell over it, but you know, it's something that I want to be honest.
What you mean not dwell over it? Bud Crawford's already made it known that this is the fight that he wants. So why is he talking about the fight as if he's chasing Bud Crawford and Bud Crawford isn't a guy who's going to want to fight? Like, it's almost like the way he's talking about Bud Crawford is the way that everybody should be talking about Canelo Alvarez. You know what I mean? A dude that may or may not fight you depending on what's going on, depending on what's easiest. Bud Crawford has already made it clear that this is the fight that he wants. So why all this uncertainty and all this what nonchalant energy when it comes to Bud Crawford, but we see a completely different energy when it comes to Blair Cobb. You know what I'm saying? And Blair Cobb is I'm gonna be talking about this motherfucker because the way that Errol Spence was talking about Blair Cobb, the way he kept bringing up, like every time Blair Cobb made a statement about Errol Spence, he would respond to him right away. He even mentions Blair Cobb in this interview. Oh, I ain't even know who he was when he said, oh, you ain't know who he was, how you was responding to the nigga so goddamn fast. You knew he was a dude that you could possibly beat. You ain't responding to Terence Bud Crawford that goddamn fast. Or at all. But let's keep it going.
Because you've shown how much you love the history of the sport. Do you feel like that's something you need to accomplish to be an all-time great at welterweight with the Trinidads and the Ray Robinsons and all those guys?
Okay, so this is a real important question, y'all, because dude is asking him whether he believes he needs this fight for his legacy. That's how y'all gotta interpret this. Do you believe you need this fight for your legacy? Okay, which, if you're asking any boxing fan, if you're asking anybody aside from Errol Spence Jr., they're all going to tell you, yeah. They're all going to look at Errol Spence's resume. They're all going to look at all the fights all the fights he's had in his career, and they're going to say, well, there's nobody on his resume. There's nobody who he's fought who could even remotely measure up to a Terence Bud Crawford. This is a legacy fight. This is a fight he needs for his career. There's nobody. Terence Crawford is a once-in-a-generation fighter. There's no one that he could fight that would give him the same amount of credibility and recognition as a Terence Bud Crawford. But listen to what this nigga says. And also, dude makes a comparable to Oscar De La Hoya and Tito Trinidad in regards to that fight. You know what I mean? But let's listen to what Errol Spence says. Keep it going. Let's go.
No, I don't think it's something I need to be all-time great because I don't think Trinidad and a lot of...
That's how you can tell when a nigga lying when he start playing with his ear and looking down. That's how you can tell when a nigga lying, dog. Look at this dude looking down playing with his ear. Thinking about how can I skirt around this goddamn question? What can I say to not answer the goddamn question? You know what I mean? That's when you know a nigga lying. Look at this dude. He got that look on his face like when your girl catch you cheating. That's that shit that's that thing you do. You look down. You start stuttering. This shit, dog. But let's keep it going, man.
Those guys was undisputed, were they?
No, Trinidad had the same 2 belts you had.
Well, hold on, bro. But here go the thing too. He asking this question, dog, but you the one that said you wanted to be undisputed. So why the fuck you asking that question? Why you asking that question anyway in the first place? You said you wanted to be undisputed. So what does it matter whether or not you feel you need it as a part of your career in order to be legacy? You said you wanted to be it. Let me tell you something, Earl. The fact that you said that you wanted to be undisputed, you want to be undisputed. If you turn around and don't do that, that's gonna be a bigger blip on your legacy than anything else. That's why dudes like Canelo Alvarez don't get the recognition that a lot of their fans feel like they should get. Because Canelo Alvarez said he wanted to be undisputed at 154. Okay? He didn't do it. Niggas like me and other dudes on the internet remember the fact that he said he wanted to be undisputed at 154 and he didn't do it. Niggas like me remember he said he wanted to be undisputed at 160 and didn't do it. Okay? We remember this shit. That's why Canelo Alvarez is going to forever have that kind of stain on his name. So if Errol Spence, for whatever reason, I don't give a fuck, he doesn't go for undisputed, but Terence Crawford, he's going to be more known for that than anything else. Period. But let's keep going.
After he beat De La Hoya, the WBC.
Yeah, I don't think Trinidad, De La Hoya, Floyd, a lot of these guys, a lot of the greats, won undisputed, especially in the fourth belt era. So, I don't think, it's something that, just that I need like that. But, it's something I definitely want, why not? But, if it can't happen, then, it is what it is.
If it can't happen, then it is what it is. It's just, I don't think it's something you need. Also, too, man, here go the other thing, too, man. Here's the other part of this conversation that need to be had. Bro, you the one that said that you wanted to go get all the other belts on your side of the street and then fight Bud Crawford. You the one that said that, bro. And the difference between this situation and Trinidad versus De La Hoya is Trinidad versus De La Hoya. Those were the two best welterweights at the time. Those were the best guys. It wasn't for undisputed. If anything, this goes against your whole argument of, I'm finna do everything on my side. I'm gonna collect my belts on my side of the street and then I'm gonna fight Bud Crawford. It completely and utterly destroys that argument. Because that was one of the biggest fight. That was the biggest fight at the time. Those were the two best welterweights. Those are dudes that are gonna go down in history. Okay, you and Bud Crawford, y'all are the two best welterweights. The fact of the matter is, don't nobody give a fuck about a WBA belt. I care about undisputed, but we don't need undisputed. We don't need undisputed as long as we get the fight. Because all boxing fans know that Errol Spence and Terence Crawford are the two best welterweights at 147 pounds. So the winner of that fight is going to get the recognition and the accolades they deserve, even if they don't become undisputed. So you going against your own argument. You the one that said collect all the belts. You the one that said all that dog ass shit. You said it. So by you admitting that Trinidad and De La Hoya was a big fight and both of them dudes became legends and et cetera, you going against your own argument. We didn't need Ugas. I get that that's what you want to do. But you're the one that chose to go the easy route. Not Bud Crawford. We could have saw Bud Crawford before we saw Sean Porter, before we saw Danny Garcia, before we saw Mikey Garcia. We didn't need none of those fights. Boxing didn't need none of those fights, Earl. Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence, that's the fight to make. That has always been the only fight to make. Ever since you picked up that IBF belt and that WBC belt.
Who's the best welterweight in the world?